Okay, the records are now open. All right. So I was really picking up some interesting energies when we were connecting heart chakras. Initially, I thought maybe Lyra Vega, but I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing actually origination point was Antares, which is a star system close to Galactic Center. It's a stargate, okay? And what I'm seeing is that you were one of the original gatekeepers of the portal, okay? But for some reason, you decided that you were going to have a different path than most of your Antarean brethren, okay? At one point, I think many, many thousands of years ago, there were a few Antarean colonies on Earth. It was mostly kind of in the Baltic, Greece, and Anatolia, and kind of Middle Eastern areas. I don't know if that's your background, but that's what I'm seeing where the colonies were. Okay, mainly the Antarean. So you see a lot of Antarean influence in ancient Greece and ancient Turkey, in some of the Middle Eastern cultures. Okay. And I think at that point, they were probably manifesting as maybe kind of more humanoid forms of themselves, but the true form of an Antarean is as a big mantis being. Okay, so yeah, so they're big red-looking mantis beings. They're not evil. They're not malevolent. They're actually very benevolent beings. They're very high vibrational. Okay. So that's your family group, okay? But for some reason, you chose to take the path of the wandering Antarean, because most of the Antarean beings have since ascended, so they're not even in the physical realm anymore, So maybe for you, it's, a little bit more difficult to connect with your star family because they are in the very, very high dimensional realms, but you've also been in other star systems, so I'm trying to see what was the story behind you leaving the Stargate, okay, because kind of what I'm seeing initially, so your story starts in the Antares star system, which is a big red-orange star. And Antares is really big, okay? So Antares was created to be a portal between Andromeda Galaxy and the Milky Way. So it's just a portal, okay? So it connects those two galaxies. Initially, I was like, well, is he from Andromeda Galaxy? And I was like, I didn't see Andromeda Galaxy. I was looking in your auric field. I was like, I didn't see Andromeda Galaxy. So I was like, okay, he's not from Andromeda Galaxy. But he's connected with Antares. So you're definitely Antarean, okay? But this portal was created so that the Andromeda Galaxy co-creators who created the structure of the Milky Way could travel from the Andromeda Galaxy through Antares into Galactic Center. So Galactic Center is between Scorpio and Sagittarius, which Antares is in Scorpio. Okay, so it's right there. Okay, so kind of what I'm seeing is you're one of the Antarean Stargate keepers. Okay, that was your original position. Okay, so you were just kind of maintaining the Stargate, making sure that only the highest vibrational beings could pass through. And kind of what I'm seeing is that you got involved with some galactic projects in the Galactic Center, where you got involved with some galactic councils in Altair, which is another star system real close to Galactic Center. And I think you got so invested in this project of descent into physicality that you felt like you had to oversee it on a more personal level. Okay, so it wasn't enough that you were kind of monitoring from afar, because you felt for some reason like you had to get more involved. Okay. Now, do you do kind of emissary work in this lifetime, or are you an emissary, or do you work with like international relations, or I'm just curious.
Oh, I help a lot of international clients move like to our area.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'm a realtor. So I help a lot of people with the World Bank, with the IMF, literally from every country you can imagine.
Oh, wow, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what your guys are telling me is that you've always been kind of an ambassador, or like an emissary, you know, like you've always kind of had this outreach to other star systems. That was mainly what you were doing. Okay, so so kind of what I'm seeing with you is that so originally you looked like a big mantis being. Okay, this is what your form was like. But I think when you were having when you were getting involved with some of these galactic projects, that form was really hard to maintain in lower dimensional star systems. So you had to incarnate as beings that you're trying to assist, kind of like the Arcturians do. So I'm an Arcturian being, or I'm an Arcturian starseed, but Arcturians will start off as Arcturian looking, and then we'll incarnate into Pleiades or Sirius, and we start taking on those forms. So we take on a more human form. But so I think that's kind of the same thing that happened with you. Initially, your assignment was Vega. Okay, that was your first assignment. Okay, was Vega. Okay, and Vega is a very important star system. It's the fifth brightest star in our night sky. I think Arcturus is just a little bit brighter, but at one time Vega was our North Star. So, so Vega represents the connection to the original human consciousness, you know, the original human template. Okay, and I know Bashar talks about this a lot. You know, he talks about it. Yeah. I follow Bashar too. I like him. He's really cool.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. Yeah, he's kind of straightforward. Like he doesn't. There's no fluff with him. You know, it's just like he just tells it like it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but you gotta admire that. You know, you gotta admire it. You know, so so anyway, so kind of what I'm seeing that you did was, I think it was really hard for you to be on Vega as a mantis being, you know. Now, when you were in Galactic Center, that was a different story, okay? But, so you had to incarnate as a Vega-looking being. So you were a tall humanoid with blue skin, okay? So, yeah, blue skin, you know. So, and mainly what you were trying to do was, I think you were trying to just ensure the success of the civilization. That the people there were able to evolve and step into, you know, various phases of their evolution very seamlessly, okay? And I think actually Vega was created before the other Lyran star systems, so they had kind of a little bit more of a head start because they were the representation of Mother Goddess consciousness. Okay, so you were working with the councils, you know. So they had the big Vega councils. You were working with the Vega Starfleet, and you were kind of like a go-between. Like, you know, you would make sure that, you know, the councils were working in alignment with the Starfleet, and the Starfleet was working in alignment with the needs of the Vega civilization, and that things were progressing according to plan. Okay, so that's what you were doing, and I think initially, you know, I kind of bypassed Antares a little bit. I don't know much about Antarean culture because they're very kind of reserved beings. they're kind of like Cassiopeians, where, the Cassiopeians were very reserved beings. They kind of keep parts of their Akashic records kind of closed, so, but what I do know about them is they were extremely high vibrational, and they were so high vibrational that they only worked with highest dimensional beings. You were kind of an anomaly because you separated from the rest of the Antarean family in order to work with everybody else. Okay, so that's what you were doing. Okay, so kind of what I'm seeing is that things were going great in Vega until the Lyra Draconian Wars, and then things got really bad really fast. You were very concerned because you had invested a lot of your energy, a lot of your time and energy into getting Vega situated, and the idea of the destruction of Vega was horrific for you. We have been working on this civilization for thousands of years. It was devastating to see everything get wiped out, and so Vega didn't survive the wars, okay? There's still Vega beings, there's still Vega, they're in the kind of the ethereal realm, but, so a lot of people will have like Vega guides, but Vega as a physical reality doesn't exist anymore, okay? Now that's going to change in the future because we're going to rebuild Lyra and Vega, but and you might be involved with that project, but for right now it doesn't exist. So you were devastated that everything that you had worked hard to help the Vega people build and create was wiped out during the wars, and all you had was like these ragtag starships that were just trying to take survivors of the wars to other star systems. So basically what you did was you followed the Vega family. Okay, so you wanted to ensure that wherever they ended up, they were going to become even more successful, okay, than Vega. So naturally, you followed the Vega survivors to Sirius. Okay, and also to the Hyades, which is a star cluster in the Taurus constellation, not the Pleiades, but the Hyades, because there were some Vega refugees that ended up there. There was some Vega refugees that ended up in Hadar, which is also known as Beta Centauri, okay, and Orion. Okay, so you've been in a few places, okay, so you traveled a bit, and Earth, okay, so and Earth, we'll put Earth in there too, okay, so you kind of bounced around a little bit as far as your incarnation, so there was really no like really clear linear progression for you. It was kind of like you would have a few incarnations in Sirius, then you would have an incarnation in the Hyades, then you would have an incarnation in Beta Centauri, then you would have an incarnation in Orion, and then back in Sirius, and then back to Orion, and you were just kind of like bouncing around, okay? Because you were kind of checking up on the Vega family, okay? Making sure that they were going to remain successful, that they were going to be evolving, beyond, their predecessors. Okay, so in Sirius, mainly what you did was, I think, the big push in Sirius, I always talk about this, was technology. They wanted to implement greater technology so that they could withstand future attacks. Okay, that was the main purpose. They also wanted to develop, stronger civilization, so that, all beings in the Sirius, I guess, realm could coexist, peacefully with each other. So those are the two missions in Sirius. Initially, you worked in Sirius A, but I also see a connection with you with Sirius B and C. Okay, so where I see sometimes that you were working with Sirius B, the amphibian beings. Sometimes you're working with aquatic beings. You were all over the place. Okay, like I said, you're a traveling soul. You are a traveling soul. So yeah, and you're one of my very few Antareans. I don't get many Antarean starseeds. They're very rare, actually. So you're on a very specific mission. Your mission was very specific, and you were very dedicated to it. Okay, to the point that you sacrificed immortality and you sacrificed being with your star people in the highest dimensional realms, because you were so dedicated to ensuring the success of the human race that you followed the human race in all these, at least the mother goddess consciousness aspect of the human race. Okay, so you're actually a champion for the divine feminine. Okay, which is pretty freaking awesome, because looking at you, you're a very masculine man. You're very, I don't know, you're a nice looking man. You're very masculine, but you're representing the best of the divine feminine. Okay, which that's what we're going to see more and more here on Earth is starseed men that are going to be very well integrated with the divine feminine. They're not going to be closed off to their emotions. They're not going to be playing patriarchal, power games anymore. So
yes.
you know what I'm saying. So we're going to see more and more of that, which is really exciting. I'm just the little bit I'm seeing here and there with the development of the divine masculine is really encouraging. I mean, it's like men are starting to get in tune with their sensitivity to their intuition, and we women love it. At least us awakened women, we're like, the guys are getting on board. So you're here to represent the divine feminine, okay? Because you've always been following the Vega family, okay? So that was your assignment from Antares, okay? So you had, I think, some incarnations in Sirius where you were managing, I think, big technological projects. Making sure that Sirius got to the point where they were really well developed, where they were not going to where they were not going to be destroyed by Draco or destroyed by Orion or any of the other benevolent or Zeta Reticuli. So they were going to be able to withstand and become, a very strong civilization, and they did. Sirius is one of the most successful civilizations we have in our galaxy right now. They had a huge influence on Earth, huge. Okay, so then what I see too is, I think when the Antareans were doing some of their experiments on Earth, you were involved with that. So you were there as an extraterrestrial. So you were not having Earth incarnations yet. Okay, you were there, kind of monitoring some of the Earth projects. And this was mainly in that area I was telling you about, which was all kind of the cradle of the civilization. The cradle of the human civilization was in the Middle East. Okay. Now, where's your family from? Are they Lebanese or?
Yeah, I'm Lebanese. How'd you know?
I don't know. It just came to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually was born there. I moved here when I was 15.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So, and you look Lebanese, actually.
No, people tell me that all the time. I'm Italian, so I'm not.
Okay. Mediterranean.
Yeah, Mediterranean, but I do have some Arabic genetics apparently, so I did a 23andMe test. So yes, apparently I do have. I think it's Arabic and I don't know. Egyptian, I guess. I don't know. It was like it was a number of different things. I don't remember it all, but Iranian. I don't know. It was some yeah. So I thought, man, I was going to be disappointed if my 23andMe test came back and I was 100% Italian. I was going to be like, damn, you know, it's like. But no, I'm only 70% Italian. So
Okay, cool.
yeah. So I had some other influences in my background, but no, thank you for saying that. Yeah, people tell me that a lot, actually, that I look Middle Eastern or Lebanese, or I take it as a compliment. So yeah. So anyway, so I'm gonna write down Lebanese. Okay. So you were getting involved with the Syrian technical projects. That was a big focus for a while, and then Sirius was also developing spiritually, so you had a hand in that. Okay. So I think you were on some sort of councils that were overseeing the spiritual development of Sirius. Okay. And then you would have, like, sometimes incarnations in the Hyades. Now, the Hyades is a star cluster that's in the Taurus constellation, which is actually not far from Orion. Okay, so the Hyades is the stars that make up the horns of the bull. Okay, so you got Aldebaran, and then you got the Hyades right here, and then the Pleiades is over here. Okay. You didn't have much dealings with the Pleiades because that was a different star group. So that was all Lyran, white Lyran. Which, not that you didn't have interactions with Pleiadians, you did quite a bit, but you had interactions with a lot of different star races. But you weren't exactly focused on supporting them because there was other Arcturians and Andromedans that were supporting the Lyran, Pleiadian, Andromedan, family. Okay, so you were working with the Hyadians, and initially the Hyadian people were very kind of closed off. I think they went through a lot of trauma during the wars. They didn't want to really get involved with being an intergalactic star member. They just wanted to create, craft work and stay very closed in their star system. And you were trying to break them out of that. Okay, you're trying to get them to become more intergalactic. Okay, and so you, along with I think several other individuals, helped to formulate the leadership school in Hyades that became very famous. So Sirius is very famous for their Syrian mystery schools. Hyadians are very famous for their facilitative leadership school. Okay, so this was going to put them on the map for something more than just creating nice furniture or art pieces. Okay, the Hyadian people were kind of they were very reserved. They were very much to themselves. They didn't really care to be Starfleet members. But that eventually changed as, I think as they went through the school, they developed a school. It enabled them, I think, to move past their own personal traumas into wanting to become more involved. Okay, so a little bit of a different mission than what you had in Sirius. Okay, in Beta Centauri. Okay, so Beta Centauri is kind of like the alternate star system of Alpha Centauri, which is located very close to Earth. They're both very closely. They're one of the closest neighbors to Earth, actually. So Beta Centauri had a lot of descendants of Vega people that lived there. Most of their focus was mostly on developing themselves through the emotional and psychic, or the emotional psychic realms. Okay, so these people were highly empathic, they were highly sensitive, highly intuitive. And what you were trying to do with them is you were trying to help them to create more a balance, where, because they were too much in the divine feminine. So you're trying to help them create a balance with some divine masculine features. Okay, so kind of similar to what you were doing with Hyades. Okay, then you had some incarnations, like you were bouncing between Earth and Beta Centauri. So that was when you were really getting involved with some of the Earth colonization. But then you got called to Orion. Okay, so quite a few, I think they say 75%. I think Lissa Royale Holt in her book, The Prism of Lyra, says in her book that 75% of the humans that lived in Orion were descendants of Vega people. Okay. And only 25% were Lyrans. Okay, so that tells me that the majority of Orion people were probably dark-skinned, because they had, but in Orion, their dark blue skin turned to brown. So that's why you see like a lot of brown-skinned people on Earth, because some of them came from Orion, some of them came from Vega, so... So when you're in the lower dimensional realms, the blue skin turns to brown. And you were mostly working within the belt stars. Okay, so most of the work that you were doing was, I think, trying to support the Orion people in becoming a little bit more unified, a little bit more... had a little bit more freedom, a little bit more, control over their own destinies, as opposed to being controlled by the draconian empire that was around them. Because in the outlier stars, it was all the Orion Empire. Okay, I always say that Orion reminds me a lot of Star Wars. So when I was watching Star Wars, I kept saying, "Oh my God, that's Orion. Oh my God, that's Orion." Yeah, I think George Lucas must have been an Orion starseed, had major downloads. Okay, so from Orion. So, so I think what you were trying to do was, just help the Orion people to achieve unity consciousness, to transcend the duality consciousness, matrix that they were stuck in, and to help them shift from this kind of duality consciousness to a light consciousness. And so you were in Orion for quite a while. Okay. Now you're not really an Orion starseed. Okay. You're kind of like there as an emissary. So. You're an Antarean starseed, which is really cool, because I rarely see Antarean starseeds. Rarely, yeah. So you're very special. So you had, I think, a lot of involvement with Orion. In the meantime, I think you were wrapping things up on Earth. The Antareans didn't stay on Earth very long. It seemed like that's why you don't see many Antarean starseeds on Earth, because they had, I think, a couple of specialized projects, and then once the projects was finished, they kind of took off. They didn't hang around. So your genetic line is very, very rare. As far as it was almost like you had to use some of your Sirian incarnations in order to find, a Sirian connection on Earth, so that you can incarnate so you probably didn't have bunches and bunches of incarnations on Earth, is my guess, unless you were using, I think you were using the Sirian genetics to try to incarnate on Earth. Eventually, you are going to reconnect with your star family. So it's interesting that you say you have a connection with mantis beings because that's what they are. But now they're so evolved that they're not even in physical form anymore. And I don't know if that's what you see when you have your visions. Yeah.
Exactly. What I see is like literally the head of the mantis being to let me know that it's like the mantis, and then I see them these it's like thin light body silhouettes. Like light form.
Mm-hmm.
These tall, very. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always knew, like, because I always kept saying they're of like the 12th dimension.
Oh yeah, they're super high dimensional. Yeah, they're like close to Source. I mean, Source is like 13th dimension, so they're only a step below Source. You know, so.
Yeah. And I even doubted that information like for a while, but I would keep hearing it. You know, it's like it's. But thank you for the confirmation. And Bernie, this is exciting. This is.
Oh, I'm excited for you because I'm just like I get to see Antares, you know. So.
Hey, look, I didn't even know that there's an Antares. So I'm gonna have to Google a lot of.
Oh yeah, you'll see a section on Antares in my website. So go to the Galactic History section. You'll see there's a whole section on Antares. So and they even have illustrations and everything. So yeah. So yeah.
I really like you a lot. I think you have amazing energy about you.
Oh, thank you. That's really sweet. Oh yeah, no, it's just I don't know. I'm just a little Arcturian being that's trying to help people remember where they came from, you know. So yeah, so I have a true form too that it probably doesn't look anything like a human, but you know, it's just but we're trying to play this human part, so we have to look, kind of have to blend in, we have to blend in with the humans, so yeah. So anyway, so you had a lot of involvement in Orion. So the system that you were based out of was Mintanka. That was one of the belt stars, and I think it was Analam, and possibly Analtech. Okay, so Analtech. So those are the belt stars, okay? But I think you mostly worked out of Mintanka because that was the highest vibrational star system in the Orion sector, okay? After Orion achieved light consciousness, which I would think after millions of years of wars, when that happened, they must have been celebrating because that was a major feat in Orion. I mean, with all the conflicts that they had, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're all light consciousness. I mean, I hope to see that here on Earth. That would be amazing.
It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah, it is coming. That's why we're all here, right? To make sure it does come. But
I was gonna say, we're doing it now. You're activating me. I'm activating you. I activate others.
Yeah, you're activating others. Yeah, you're doing your thing. Yeah, so yeah, we're all activating. We're all helping each other out. That's basically what it is. So there's people that help me out. I help you guys out. So it all goes around. So. So when that happened in Orion, it was like a major celebration. I mean, it was just like, after millions and millions of years, it was like finally Orion achieved what they wanted to achieve. But unfortunately, there was dark factions in Orion that didn't want to be part of the light consciousness. They were not very happy. They were like, no, we don't want to be part of this. We want to still have our dark ways and control. So they all went to planet Earth. Okay, so they went to planet Earth because they wanted to have their own little kingdom, to rule over, because they lost Orion. Okay, so and they didn't want to be team players. So they thought, well, we'll just take over planet Earth, and they've been in control ever since. But that's going to change too. It's changing as we speak. I think our governmental system is breaking down. Some of the banking systems are breaking down. Things are shifting and changing. you're in the epicenter of it in Washington D.C. So maybe there's a good reason why you're in Washington D.C. and not say in Maryland or New York City or somewhere else. So
That's so funny because I always say, and I've been in D.C. for 12, 13 years, and I say, I totally love Washington, but I feel a strong connection for whatever reason to Washington. So there's a purpose here.
Yeah, there is a purpose because for some reason you have to be in the epicenter of the great shift and change, which is going to come out of the United States, which and kind of what I'm seeing is I do think government is going to change a lot. I think the Federal Reserve is going to get broken down. We're going to have more of a gold and silver based monetary system, which will be a big improvement. I think cryptocurrency is going to really take over. So there's a lot of big changes ahead. So things are not going to be status quo. And I think it takes a very experienced ancient soul like yourself to navigate all that, okay? Because you've been through this process over and over again in other star systems. You've witnessed this in Sirius. You witnessed this in Beta Centauri. You witnessed this in Orion, So you've been through this before. So when all these changes occur, you're going to be like, yeah, I'm familiar with this. I'm not freaking out over it because I know this is going to happen. So you'll be able to help guide other people. And I think that's where you're going to be. You're going to shine a lot as a starseed is helping to guide other people through the process of change. Okay, so. So that brings us to Earth, okay? So Orion ended up, becoming successful, okay? But Earth was the last wild frontier, okay? So the Galactics was looking at Earth and they were like, that little planet needs some help, okay? They're stuck in the third dimension, stuck forever in the third dimension. So it makes sense to send some of our starseeds there. And because you came from one of the highest galactic realms, you came from one of the galactic commands, okay, you were definitely sent to Earth. You were just like, oh yes, you're going to Earth because there's Vega people on Earth too, okay, the Vega descendants, So most of the incarnations that you had on Earth revolved around the locations where there was the most Vega descendants, okay, so that would be Africa, okay, Egypt, okay, Egypt, Africa, Middle East, India, Tibet, so all that kind of Eastern European, Western Asian corridor. Okay, so that's where you had a lot of your incarnations, and North Africa. No, not just North, but Africa in general. Okay, so Africa.
This is crazy because I had a past life regression last week for the second time, and I was a young infant in Africa who ended up meeting. And I can tell you the whole story later. But my mom passed away as she's foraging for food, and I was outside in the heat for 4 days. And this tall man, because I could see, I saw his big hands. Would take care of me. I would live with him for the next 16 years. And then at the end of that, when he left, I realized that the tall guy was my future self.
Oh wow, amazing!
Absolutely nuts. But I've never uttered Africa or felt until last week, and you say Africa. This is
Yeah, that's what your guides are showing me, is that you had a big connection with Africa, because you had to transcend through all the suffering that the humans that lived in those areas went through. You had to experience it and transcend it, so that you could release that for all the human groups that were also going through, all this suffering, and to help them to achieve better life, better future. And you did this in all the civilizations that you incarnated into, whether it was ancient Greece or ancient Anatolia or the Middle East or India. So it's mostly like kind of in that whole area, okay? I don't really see, like for you, Southeast Asian, because that's more Andromedan. I don't see Pacific Rim because that's Arcturian. I don't really see like Northern Europe because that's Pleiadian, so you're very much involved with the evolution of the Vega family group, okay? So in the locations where the Vega family group was at, that's where you were doing your work.
Yes. And I mean, like, this is amazing because I never felt connected to Pleiadians. I mean, I just knew, and I have a lot of friends that are Pleiadians and they watch like Pleiadian like shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just never called, and I kind of like for a moment, you doubt yourself every once in a while. I'm like, but I really thank you for saying that because now I know to like trust.
Oh yeah.
I was, this is, oh my God, this is nuts. I love it.
Oh no, I love your reading because it's different, it's just, you have a different story than the usual one I see where somebody comes out of Lyra and then they have the incarnations in Sirius or Pleiades and, and it's, and they're kind of going through their healing journey, but yours is kind of different because you've been on a higher mission to ensure the success of the human race. This has been, and it's beautiful that the work that you do now where you're helping people in other countries to come to the United States to be able to be successful here. It's kind of like you're continuing to work your mission, even though it may seem very 3D, but there's a higher purpose to it, so.
Yeah. This is so funny, like, because I help people find homes, right? But I always say, I also feel that I help them find the home to their heart.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's beyond the physical house.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's their.
You're helping them to build a new lifestyle, a new life. I mean, it goes beyond just a physical piece of property. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So and it's almost like. And this is just a download I got just right now, but it's like the people that you're helping, they're supposed to be in the United States for whatever reason, because they're here to make positive change. So they might be starseeds that maybe originated from, different parts of the planet, but they have to be in the United States in order to continue to do their higher mission, so...
And look, I want to show you this because I've had this. I totally forgot. I've had this picture of this.
Oh wow! How cool!
I mean, it's been sitting here for a bit, but anyhow, this is how Mantis are related.
Oh yeah, no, you love the Mantis beings because you are one, So.
And look, when I was a child, I completely forgot about this until like 3 months ago. I had this memory, like when I was in Lebanon, I would go to my grandmother's home.
Yeah.
Mantises on plants and on flowers everywhere. Like they were around me when I was a kid.
Oh wow, amazing.
And I completely had a memory that, so it's just crazy.
Oh wow, amazing. I think the few times I've seen Mantis, this was usually on, the eastern part of the United States, and it's been like few and far between. It's like I've never seen like a whole bunch of them all at once. So they must have been really attracted to you for some reason, But
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, look to the point that like I went to show my cousin a house because she's buying a home, and on the lockbox, like the realtor lockbox,
yeah,
she's like, where I put my card to put the code in, right on it there was a Mantis being.
Oh my goodness.
Right, and I have a picture of it. Like it's nuts. It's crazy.
It's like almost like your star family keeps sending you reminders, like, this is who you really are. This is who you really are. You know.
Like that you're connected to this thing. Like as like I connect to put the codes all electronic. Like you're connected to Mantis. They're kind of
exactly. Yeah. Just kind of like how a lot of us when we're awakening, we get these these constant reminders of yes, you're not from here, you're from this is your star family, this is why you're connected to this, so that's that. So I'm just so happy for you, because I think now that you know where you're from, you could really build on that, to continue your spiritual mission here on Earth. But yeah, I do see Africa. I see you spent some time in India too. I mean,
I tell all my people that I know I'm living parallel reality in India. Have such an affinity to India. It's out of this world. I mean, thank you for the confirmation.
Oh yeah, no, I'm seeing it. I mean, it's India has, I think, the biggest, as far as they have the biggest population of descendants of Vega. So there's a lot of parallels between the Indian culture and the ancient Vega culture. As a matter of fact, a lot of the Vedic texts that a lot of us read today, when they were talking about the Indian Hindu gods, they weren't gods; they were Vega beings visiting Earth. Okay, but they appeared, in the Vimanas and stuff. But they appeared to be gods because they had this advanced technology that humans never seen. So they were just like, they were thinking, wow, these beings have magical abilities. But they were humans, but they were higher humans. I mean, and they were tall too. They were really tall. So.
The irony of all of this, because I've never. The only time I've heard of Vega, and I really don't know anything about Vega, so I'm gonna have to look on your website.
Oh yeah, there's info on Vega too.
Yeah, but I remember like when I was in Lebanon, also, like we watched these cartoon shows that are. Like they were Japanese, and like they was dubbed in Arabic, and it was about space and everything, and there was a Vega. Now it's coming. There was an actual Vega planet or whatever it is. Then.
Oh wow.
It's just coming right now to me.
Yeah, it was like your guides were like placing like hints along the way, like this is what you're connected with. This is what you're connected with. This is what you're connected with, and
like, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, let me see if there's anything else your guides want you to know. The Earth lives was almost like you were taking on. Some of the lives you were like a spiritual guru or a spiritual teacher, or you were very elevated. Others you were just like living like very humble lives. Like you might have been, I don't know, like an African slave, or like maybe you were, a warrior, in Sparta or something, or, you were having, some very difficult lifetimes, because you had to understand the human suffering. Okay.
I can't believe you said African slave, because my first regression, I've only done two, one last week and one about 3 months ago. I was an African slave boy that was buried alive underground.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah, but the funny part of it is I was freaking out, I'm dying, or whatever, and the next image I see is actually myself, above ground, laughing out of my guts at myself.
Yeah.
And why was I afraid? There's no doubt.
Yeah.
It was literally, but I can't believe you said African slave, because I literally.
Oh yeah. The records are never wrong. Yeah, they're usually pretty on target. I had a lifetime as an African slave too. It was in Egypt. Yeah, it was interesting. A lot of intrigue and a lot of ups and downs in that life. It was interesting. But anyway. Oh, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, your guides are showing me that you're going to be stepping into a much bigger mission. So right now you're bringing the Starseeds to the United States. You're helping them to settle, to do their mission. But kind of what I'm seeing is that once more and more people awaken, your role is going to shift to where you might be doing more spiritual teaching or spiritual guidance. You know, where you'll be more of a kind of like a starseed guide to, you know, ascension or something like that. And because you're born a Pisces, okay, so you're very associated with the 12th house, which is all about spirituality. That's your main mission, okay, is spirituality, okay, so,
Well, yeah.
you know, so.
And I just want to give you some confirmation, although you don't need it. But this is crazy that you said it, because I'm actually gonna start a YouTube channel, and I hired like a YouTube consultant because I don't know much about like YouTube. In like the next month or so, because all of my clients that I deal with, because I always talk about spirituality, and I'm like myself all the time. Every single one of them says, Tony, you gotta do this. Like, do you have a YouTube channel? You need to spread this world. You need to help people think differently, like really find their lives. It's so crazy that you said it, because I also tell my clients eventually, I'll leave real estate. This will be my actual mission.
Oh yeah.
Slowly started.
Yeah, I see you shifting to this full-time spiritual, you know, mission of yours, where it'll be a labor of love for you. It's going to feel like, you know, well, this doesn't even feel like work because I love it so much, and you know, I'm just sharing this information, and it's going to unify people. It's going to, I think, help people to see the oneness of our connection with one another, and that's the gift that you're bringing from Antares. Okay, is that, you know, the connection, the oneness, the that we all came from Source. You know, Antareans were very ancient beings. You know, they. I don't know when, I mean, they must have been created like right after, I mean, I don't know, maybe they even existed even before the Andromeda Galaxy group came through, because, I mean, obviously they were the gatekeepers, but I think what's going to happen is that eventually as we evolve, we're going to start looking at, you know, where did we come from? You know, where does this all start? And it'll be the Antareans that we'll be getting more and more information from, not so much the Arcturians, okay? Although we'll always love the Arcturians, because the Arcturians are also, you know, information keepers. But the very, 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 very beginning will be from the Antareans, okay? So you have a very important mission to look forward to here on Earth. Any questions? Anything I can help you with?
The one question I have like the L4, L5 disc issue that I've been it has creeped up in the past 2 years, like lumbar 4, lumbar 5. You know, I've been wondering why it kind of manifested or is like reflected.
So this is lumbar 4 and 5. Let me take a look at that. Hang on, let's see what we got. So this kind of relates to some of my clearing work. So
okay, cool.
Okay, all right. Lumbar 4 and 5. Okay, deals with your connection to your higher self. Okay, so that deals with, it's called silver cord to the soul. So you're reconnecting, you're trying to reconnect to your higher self and your higher star family. Okay, so that has been, so I think because you come from such a unique star family, it was very difficult for you to connect, so it affected your fifth lumbar, okay? But as you reconnect with your family, I think that's going to become alleviated more and more. Fourth lumbar deals with transmutation. So that's transmutation of physical energy to spiritualized energy. So I think as you step more into your mission, you're going to find that you're shifting your frequency from dealing with the physical realm more into the spiritual realm, and that alleviate that. So it's mainly for 5 and 4th, is that what you said?
Yeah, just 4 and 5.
5, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy you say that because I knew deep down this was energetics.
Yeah, it's energetic,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's not an injury, although I say it's because of a gym injury, which, because it elevated like a year and a half ago, like when I became more awakened.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel that and it forced me to become more spiritual. Like that's the irony of it.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole purpose of it, was to get you awakened. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But great question though. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any questions. I'm so grateful to hear everything you've shared.
Oh, it's a lot. It's going to take a lot to process. Well, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I'll do a closing prayer, but I hope this was helpful. If you want more information, you can check out my website, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so anyway, and there'll be more trainings and offerings next year, and you'll be able to book readings. So it'll be great. So that's why I'm trying to keep myself healthy, so I can keep doing the work. So I can.
Of course. Yeah. You have to love yourself. That's one thing we don't do well. We always love others.
Yeah, I know, and so I spend a lot of effort on keeping myself healthy because I have a big mission too. So have to stay on it. So. Well, anyway, I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones.